Hi everyone. So, got a couple specimens here to show you, and we're going to use these to look at the kind of morphology and anatomy of a couple of birds. The first one I have here is a seabird. This is a northern fulmar that I found on the beach. So, a couple interesting features right off the bat. This is one of the tube noses. This is a type of seabird that lives in the open ocean. I don't know if you can see its bill there, but it's got that tube on its nose, nice hooked bill. Very gray. These are normally much lighter in color. This is a darker gray morph. Got this kind of pointed wing that it's using for dynamic soaring out in the ocean. And then some webbed feet here, so you guys can kind of see nice simple webbing between its front three toes. So these are the forward three pointing toes and a very small hallux here at the back. Alright, so first thing is to get to know a little bit of the bird's topography. So just a couple of key points here. Let me see if I can get them situated in a way where you can kind of see them in profile. So first, kind of head topography. We've got up here at the top of the head, this would be the crown. In this case, he's pretty uniform in color. Notice some colorations there. No face lines. This would be kind of the auricular area here. So this is kind of over where the ears are. Then we would have the lores right above where the eye is here, and then the malar and throat down kind of under the bill. If we go on the back here, you can see this is getting into the nape area, so kind of the back of the neck. If they have their head up, this would be the nape right here, leading right into the back covers and the scapulars here. The scapulars are the feathers that actually cover the wing when it's folded in. So I don't know if you can see, but the wing usually kind of tucks under some feathers there. These are what we call the scapular feathers. And then the back here is what we'd call the mantle that we can see when the wings are folded. If we spread out the wing a bit, seabirds have nice long wings where you can see the morphology very well. So right here at the end, these are the primary flight feathers, and they can spread these out as they're flying to control kind of airflow through the wings very easily. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's see where that ends. Looks like 9 primaries, which is pretty typical for a bird. And then here, these are the secondaries, and on seabirds they have a lot. Very long wings. These are variable from species to species. Okay, changing the angle here a bit, you can now see the secondaries here, and then this next row of feathers right over it, these are called the coverts. So they're covering the main flight feathers. So here's the primary coverts, and then over the secondaries, the coverts that go over the secondaries are called the greater coverts. When their wing is folded in, the greater coverts are typically what you see. So whenever you see, in field guides where they have a wing bar, that's usually the greater coverts that form that feature. And then above that we have the median coverts. Now this part of the wing here, so this is all feather, so right here is where the wing starts. Has a couple of interesting features. One is this little feature here called the alula, which will be hard to see, but you can see the feathers that come off the alula. These are basically feathers that are used in low-speed flight to avoid stalling. So basically it reduces vortexes forming over the wing. So they can kind of use that almost like a thumb, where they kind of raise it or lower it depending on how they want air to be moving over the wing. So from here to here, this is basically akin to the hand, right? So their hand is here, all the bones are fused. Then this part right here, this is going to be the forearm, And then their elbow is right down here about where my thumb is. Let me move that so you can see a little better. And then this is the upper arm and then the shoulder up here. So the primaries are all attached basically to the hand. The secondaries are all attached to what's the same as the forearm. And then there are these feathers right here. These are the tertiaries, which basically keep the kind of shape of the wing all the way to the body. So as they spread these wings, you can kind of see that makes this nice airfoil here, with the majority of the airfoil being formed by the secondaries, but the primaries are the ones that really extend the wing. During flapping, it's the primaries that are the main thrust, and they can fine-tune kind of the spreading of the primaries in order to affect the airfoil that they're forming. So we move farther down on the body. So here this would be the rump, right? So again, if we close the wings, the rump is often covered by the wings when they're at rest, and then we see it when they're exposed. And this goes right down to the tail, which I'll spread here. Okay, so just again some terminology on feathers. The main flight feathers, the primaries and the secondaries, are called remiges. The tail feathers we call rectrices. And here there's nothing too extraordinary about this bird's tail, but you can see they spread out nicely, and this is basically used as like a rudder in flight for steering. We flip over onto its underside. Okay, we have again the throat. Hopefully you guys can see that. The throat, and then the breast of the bird. Okay, so the chest is the breast. These kind of undersides, especially down here right along the wings, we would call the flanks and the belly, right? And then as the bird is sitting, right, kind of the part that's behind the legs, down here, you know, what we might colloquially call the butt, this is typically called the vent. And so these are all really important parts of the bird to know, because when you look at bird guides, they're going to use this terminology. So let me show you another specimen now, and we'll kind of compare the morphology of these. This bird was on the beach, so lots of sand here. Okay, so let me zoom in a little bit here. Okay, so this bird unfortunately hit my window, so he had some skull trauma. But this is a small little bird called an orange-crowned warbler, so much smaller, you can see. Hopefully you guys can see this color here, called an orange-crowned warbler because, as the name implies, oops, let's see if I can focus in on this. Very hard to do this. But some orange coloration on the crown. You almost never see that. They can raise and lower their feathers on their crown, and then that ultimately can show it off when it wants to, but most of the time you don't see it. But you can see very lovely bird, and now we have some colorations that we can map on, right? So we have an orange crown here on the nape and onto the mantle, kind of this nice olive green color. In this case, I think you guys can see this, but it's got a very slight yellow eye ring, so right around the eye, some nice yellow coloration there. And then kind of the throat and breast are kind of this yellowish color, getting more lemon yellow as we go down to the flanks. Okay, we spread out that wing again. Now we've got a very typical wing here. Make sure you're in focus. Nice pass ring, songbird wing. So here we've got the primaries up here, the secondaries down here. The coverts are a little less distinct, but they're forming kind of this nice scaly pattern here. And then I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me get a tool to point it out with. But right here, that's the alula that I'm kind of teasing up there. So they have that alula as well. In this case, nice beautiful feathers. This was a pretty bird when it was alive. Kind of a yellowish tinge to its rump. Again, it's rectrices here. We can kind of spread them out so you can kind of see what the tail looks like. They're spread out. And then the vent here is kind of this lemon yellow with a little bit of a whitish wash right around the legs. So again, very similar. You can see very distinct bill on these warblers. These are small insect-eating birds. So that's its external morphology.